happy to be back. So yeah, it was about a year ago that we were here, and if anyone was here, we were making risotto. Tonight I decided to do, or not tonight, today, to cook with herbs. So seasonal. I don't know how many of you have herb gardens now, or a little pot on the patio or whatever. I've always had them. Can't wait till spring comes and you see those first little shoots of usually chives popping up out of it, and I end up sometimes decimating them because I'm so anxious to use them that I want to use them right away. What happens as the season goes on is you end up with so many herbs, then you don't know what to do with them. So in the beginning, you're so happy to see them, and then you're kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? So I thought today we would talk about them, talk about the different kinds of herbs, difference between herbs and spices, and just a few things that you can do. Some you might already do, might already be familiar with, and some you might not be. So I'm going to start off. We're going to make a Persian frittata. So this is a Persian herb and leek frittata that is a traditional dish that they serve at the Persian New Year in the spring. Because again, the whole idea of the herbs is it's the new year. They come back every year, New Year coming, and way to celebrate. So this is a dish that I found by doing some research to teach a class on the Persian New Year, and this is one that really stuck with me. I think it's delicious. I think it's great to use as a frittata, just as a breakfast dish. Also great as an appetizer as well. So it's got a lot of herbs in it, and it also has leeks. So what I'm going to do is start with first, actually, because a lot of people aren't really familiar with how to cut a leek, what to do with it. So it just looks like a giant scallion. The thing about the leeks, unlike the scallions where you can use the whole thing from the white to the green, the tops that get really green, in this case, the grocery store actually trimmed off most of it. But that whole top, although it's edible, it's very tough. And we'll normally use it in the kitchen to make a stock or something. We don't normally chop it up and saute it. But what you do with the top that's a little bit darker green, you take your knife and you cut at an angle, like so. Because the inside, a little bit lighter green, which is tender, is completely edible, and you don't want to waste even that little bit up there. So you kind of get rid of that. Top off the root end, chop that off. We're going to cut it down the middle. Open it up. I'm going to cut it one more time. The thing about leeks, and that can be a little bit slightly maybe intimidating or scary, is they're very dirty. They're sandy. So in order to grow so tall and straight, they have to grow them in a very sandy, a loamy soil, they say. So it can get trapped in the layers. So normally what I do is chop up my leeks. So I'm going to take it now, and I'm going to slice it into small pieces. Just a nice sharp knife. Little slice. Such a beautiful, beautiful vegetable. So we're starting off without an herb, I guess, but beautiful, aromatic, the different colors. All right, all the way up. Then what I normally do is take a bucket of water, and we just put the leeks already cut up in here. So I don't worry about cutting it up when it's whole. I put it in the water, and we swirl it around, and then we're going to let it hang out. And what happens is any dirt that's in there is going to kind of fall to the bottom, and then you pull the chopped leeks out of it, and it'll be nice and clean. There'll be no sand in there. So the mistake that you shouldn't make is just pouring this into a colander and pouring the dirt back on top of it, which I learned the hard way. So you can take it off the top. So we're going to just let that soak in there. I've got some that I already did. I'm going to just go to this. All right, so this frittata, in addition to all of these herbs that we're going to have, is going to use 3 different onions. So we've got the leeks, onion family. We're going to do a little bit of white onion. And then we're going to do some chives, which is the herb portion of that. So onion-wise, I have it cut in half, and I'm just going to make some really thin slices because we want a finely chopped onion. Again, all this so beautifully aromatic. This I'm going to get going. So I've got our nonstick skillet. you really do need to use a nonstick pan for this. This is one of those dishes. Eggs, people ask when you use a nonstick versus a stick. Eggs, fish, those are the two main things that I would use one for. So I'm gonna get that going. And meanwhile, I'm just chopping this very fine. Like so. All right, we're going to add some olive oil to our pan. Got this. Let's make sure I'm getting heat. It's hot. All right, let that heat up a second. We're going to add in our white onion. And we're going to add in the leeks that I already drained. I did some back at the kitchen, so I drained them off. So we're going to add those in there. We're going to just start sauteing them. So I was talking briefly about the different kinds of herbs. So we have two main categories. They're tender herbs, and then there's the hardy herbs. So the tender herbs are the ones that we're going to be using in this recipe, and actually a couple of the recipes that we're doing today. And these are the herbs it's the leaves mainly. So the leaves and the stem of the tender herbs are edible. They're very tender. They tend to be delicious raw, delicious in a sauce, delicious as a finishing. They don't stand up as well to long cooking, so as opposed to the robust herbs. So tender herbs are parsley, cilantro, basil, mint, dill. So all of those that you can see when you chop them up, they almost kind of bruise. They start breaking down easily. So those are the tender herbs. The hardy herbs are things like rosemary, thyme, things that you can put in a stew and braise for a long time. It takes a longer time to extract the flavors from them. That's kind of like the two main categories. When people talk about drying the tender ones, there's hardly any reason to dry them. Like the freshness of them and the fresh oils in them makes them so delicious. Like once you put them in a jar, dry them and put it in a jar, to me it's kind of like green confetti at that point. It doesn't really have a lot of flavor left. Yes, you can freeze them for sure. You can put them, a lot of times what you can do is like kind of chop them up, put them in a little bit of water, like make a cube, and you can freeze them like that, and then you can like kind of melt that into what you're serving. They just they lose a little bit of they wouldn't keep any kind of crispness after they're frozen. The way that what we normally do with them is we turn them into sauce, a sauce that we can freeze then. And there are a whole category of sauces, the verde, all the green sauces. So we are making a couple of them today. Almost every cuisine has a green sauce. They are all similar but a little bit different. There's some that we know, a word that everybody knows would be like pesto. So an Italian pesto is basically one of their green sauces, which is basically basil, a little bit of pine nuts, garlic, oil, Parmesan. Salsa verde would be parsley, a little bit of lemon, garlic, olive oil. They all have olive oil too. There's all the idea of these fresh herbs suspended in some kind of oil, which kind of helps protect them, keeps them fresher. We are going to be doing shermula, which is a North African green salsa verde, basically, which has got a bunch of different herbs. We're also going to be doing today like a green goddess, so a dressing, so kind of a salad dressing is a green sauce. There's chimichurri. All of those are basically variations on a theme, and you can take any combination of herbs from your garden, fresh herb leaves, chop them up, mix them with a couple of other ingredients, and you make your own personal green sauce. Normally it would have a component of often it has a little bit of a spice to it, so it might have a little bit of a jalapeno in there, could have a serrano, could have a little bit of red pepper flakes, so something a little bit spicy. Often a garlic, but not always. If you don't like garlic, you don't have to put it in, but often it has a little bit of garlic in there. And usually an acid, so usually something that has a little bit of acidic punch to it. So it could just be a squeeze of lime juice, lemon juice, vinegar, that that is basically all you need to make your own salsa verde or green sauce. So you see, this is beautiful. These are starting to wilt a little bit. I'm going to add my little bit of salt and pepper to this. Can you smell it already? A little bit? Blow it out there. All right. While that's going, I'm going to break a few eggs. I forgot I had to do that. Proper breaking. Flat surface. Pull them apart. People always, I see them kind of pushing it on the side of the bowl, and that really isn't a good idea. Kind of can push the outside of your shell inside. So it's better to do it this way. All right, so we're using 6 eggs for this one. We're going to give it a little whisk. Okay. This has got another unique ingredient in it to me for a frittata. I never would have thought of this before, and I love it. It has walnuts. So a little bit of walnuts toasted and chopped up, and they go in here. And it gives a little unexpected texture. It's delicious. So we're going to put those in. So I already did that. I toasted them, and I chopped them up. We toast them. We always talk about that. You'll see it in a lot of recipes and people because it brings out the oils, the aromas a little bit, makes them a little bit more intense when you do that. So freshens it up. All right, so the herbs in this one. So we are going for parsley. So we're using some flat leaf parsley. So what I do with these, again, although the stems are completely edible, we usually use most of the leaves. So we're going to take a little pile of those. We're going to use, it's actually a lot. It's going to be a cup, but I have them chopped up because that'll be a lot to watch me chop all of those. So we have a little bit of cilantro. So we're going to use cilantro in this. Again, mostly leaves. The cilantro stems are very, very tender. So I'm always really excited in the beginning and then. So the same thing. You can just see they're so tender that you're just pinching off. Okay. All right, this is coming along beautifully. All right, so I'm just going to pile these up. That's normally what you do. You just kind of pile them all up in a tight little bundle. And then just like I was doing with the onion and the leeks, just allow slicing. Watch your fingers. Slice through. Lift your hand up. Now you can do a little bit of mincing. All right, so you mince it till it's kind of fine. That's it. This is going to go in. It's going into the eggs. But you'll see how much more, not just that little bit. All of that. All of that. All of this. And with the chive, I got chives. All the chives. We're going to add a little bit of turmeric, so a little bit of color, flavor. And this is also getting another ingredient really unique to me to a frittata. It's baking powder. So this is going to give it a little bit of lift. So it changes the texture a bit. So that's going to go in. So I put the salt and pepper in there instead of in my egg mixture. I'm actually going to put a couple more eggs in here because I can. Oops, guess what I did? Whoever gets the shell gets to win a prize. Well, yeah. I'm just stretching this a little bit because we got a nice crowd to feed, so I'm gonna add another one. But look at that beautiful color. All right, so we just move it around. Make sure that you got a good amount of oil. So I'm gonna actually add a little bit of oil in here. Turn that off a sec. Okay. So I'm just spreading it around, making it even, and we're gonna cook it uncovered for a little bit. Then I'm gonna put the cover on it, and we're gonna, when I just kind of see that it's starting to get a little bit more, I'm gonna turn it up slightly. And then it's gonna cook here. Now, if you have a, at home, you can cook it on the stove a little bit and then pop it in your oven and finish it in your oven. You can put it under a broiler even, but in this case, we're just gonna kind of cook it all here. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. It was a pleasure cooking with you. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you're going to enjoy tasting the treats that we have and that you might try to make some of these at home. Think of me all summer as your herbs are getting bigger and bigger and you don't know what to do with them. So now you have a couple of good ideas. So thank you. Thank you for helping celebrate our second anniversary at Gingham Market. So thank you. Thank you.